All right, let's jump into our sermon today. We're back in Matthew. We're looking at the Sermon on the Mount, and we're going through a series of he has 6 things he's saying where he's reinterpreting the law for them, because again, the rabbinical interpretation of the law kept the law outwardly, but not inwardly. And just to refresh our minds, in Judaism, they taught if you're a Jewish, you're automatically saved. If you're a Gentile and circumcised and kept the Noahic laws, then you were saved. And so Jews were considered royal and never could go to Gehenna. Abraham would keep them from going into hell in the lake of fire. It was just insane what they had drummed up from the rabbis. So obviously Messiah is coming, and he's the proper interpreter of the law, and he puts them back on their heels because he says, you're misinterpreting the law. Here's how to interpret things. And when he does that, it's gonna put everyone in a crisis of faith, because it's an issue with them thinking that they're automatically going to heaven, and he's showing them, no, you actually have broken the law internally, and you're not going to heaven, and that's why I have to fulfill the law for you. So there's a salvation issue, but then there's a discipleship issue. And the discipleship issue is really where I want to emphasize on today. We're under the law of the Messiah. We're not under the law of Moses anymore. So under the law of Messiah, there's 1,050 laws. And they're not just simply external, they're for internal as well. And that's what he's trying to get at. And like I said last week, the way to turn things internally and to abide in our heart by it is going to take a certain amount of effort. Number one, it's discipline. But number two, you're going to have to give up worldly advantages. Because everything he is saying about keeping the law of the Messiah in our regards is going to put you and I at a disadvantage in this world. Look, man, the way this world operates, they do not operate on biblical principles. Okay? It's the ends justify the means. We accomplish things a lot of times in unbiblical ways, and that's the way the world is. It's controlled by Satan. Well, the problem is, if you're going to get ahead in this world, you're going to have to cheat. That's how people get through this life. Okay? Bill Gates cheated of getting Microsoft. I mean, he stole some of the things from one of his partners. They all do it. And again, this is not biblical, but this is how the world is. They cut corners, they lie, they do whatever it takes to get them to where they need to be. And so Messiah is coming and saying, I need you guys to act differently. I don't want you to act like the world, and I want you to act like this. And when he shows you how to act, you're going to look at that and say, I'm going to lose every advantage in this world. In fact, it's going to cap me. It's going to put a ceiling on me. If I behave this way that he wants me to, I am going to be the loser in this world. And that's true. You will be the loser in this world, but you'll gain in the next is the idea. So everything he's going to explain is going to put you and I at a disadvantage in this world. And you and I have to be willing to be disadvantaged if we're going to turn the outward to the inward. Now, here's how he goes on in the Sermon on the Mount. He says, again, you have heard that it was said to those of old. And again, he's attacking the Mishnah, the oral law that the rabbis had drummed up, right? You should not swear falsely. Again, talking about thou shalt not lie, referring to Exodus and their interpretation of that. But shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. What's happening here? Well, here's the problem. The Pharisees were trying to say, well, we're going to keep thou shalt not lie, but then we're going to create loopholes. And the loopholes were I could swear by heaven, earth, Jerusalem, or even by my head, and that wasn't a binding oath, okay? And the fact that when I wanted to break the oath, if I swore by these things, that it allowed me to break the oath. So basically, it allowed them to lie and cheat and steal and pretend that they were honest, and go before people and say, no, I swear by my head, I swear by heaven. But it allowed them to break it later on. And this was what was going on in Jesus' day. Obviously, you could say the same thing that's going on today. The politicians do the same thing. They claim to be truthful, they'll make deals, and then they break them. And that's how the modus operandi. It's like a kid, man. Will you do this again? I swear I'll never do that again. And then next week they do it again. It's that mentality that people are swearing oaths and have no intention whatsoever of keeping that oath. That's the idea. He goes, nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair on your hair white or black. And what had happened is they had taken these things to swear by, and the problem is they had no control over it. And so that's gave them the loophole. And again, I don't want to get too deep into Judaism, but what gave them the out as far as these lawyers were concerned is if you had no control over it, then you could swear by it or whatever, and you could get out of that. And it was just, it's insane how they thought. But again, it's like a lawyer dealing with today. They're looking for all the loopholes they can get. But let your yes be yes and your no be no, for whatever is more than these is of the evil one. That's right. So he goes, if you're really going to be honest in this culture, yes, it's going to put you at a disadvantage, no doubt about that. But you're better off not even swearing. If you mean to keep your oath, then keep it. If you don't, then don't. But don't make them. Just yes, your yes be yes, and no be no. Now, again, when we go into society, what is he trying to aim at? He is trying to aim at intentional deception. People saying they're going to do something, and they do the opposite. And again, we all deal with that. We deal with that on a civilization level, a societal level, cultural level, and we deal with a family level. How many times have you dealt with family members that continue to tell you, I will never do that again, and they keep doing it over and over and over again? Well, the point is, once you wise up to them, you realize they're lying to you. They have no intentions of doing things right. And you have to wake up to that fact. It's called intentional deception. Now, we see this all over the place. For instance, Hamas. Hamas says, I'll return all the victims. We'll lay down our arms in the peace treaty. And what do? They're killing their own people who had sided with Israel, became informants on Israel or whatever, or rejected Hamas. And so they publicly are executing people. I'm not going to show you all the videos. I showed them on Wednesday, but it was pretty bad. And I want to say to all the people who are supporting Hamas, where are you now? They're killing their own people. Where are you? You're so pro-Palestinian, aren't you? Then why are you not saying anything about this? Silence, crickets. Where is the outcry from the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian group? I don't hear anything. Do you hear anything? They're killing their own people. Don't say anything. Because you know why? It was a lie. It's not so much they support the Palestinians, it's that they hate Jews. And they won't tell you that because they're liars. And that's what's happening. I mean, look at this. This is out of control. Hamas has to be destroyed.
من أجل قتل أبناء شعبهم فقد تقرر حكم الإعدام على هؤلاء المتخاذلين. خليه يكمل. لكل متخابر وعلى راسهم العميل الكبير ياسر ابو شباب والعميل الكبير رامي حنس والعميل الكبير احمد جنديه والكبير العميل اشرف المنسي انكم ستاتون هنا تحت تسجيل
I'm not going to show you that, but they ended up executing them and more people. Israel needs to go in there and clean house. Every one of those Hamas terrorists needs to be wiped off the face of the planet. Every one of them. Now, here's the deception. Oh, Israel is starving the Gazans, and they can't get food to them. Here's a video of a Palestinian pretending all of a sudden he's got a bunch of food. But I want you to notice something about the guy who's presenting the food. What did you notice in the video about the guy? He's not starving. In fact, he's very well fed. We would call him chubby, not starving. He's a chubsy-ubsy. Okay, it shows you it's all fake. They have been getting food, and now he's saying, we got food now. No, you don't. You've been having food, and it's all over your face. You can see it. You're a liar. Here's what you have to understand about Islam, and this is what Jesus is trying to say. You don't make oaths and don't plan to keep them. That is exactly everything Islam teaches. Islam teaches taqiyya, to lie over cover of one's identity. It teaches kitman, lying by omission. It teaches tariya, lying by false impression. Muruna, blending in. And hudna, a false peace to strategically regroup, which is exactly what Hamas is doing with Israel and the United States. And we need to pray that somebody gets to Trump and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and say, look, do you understand you're dealing with Islamic mindsets? They will tell you they want peace. They will do anything, and they're in it for the long haul. And they will lie to you and then regroup and then attack you again. That's the problem. That's why you don't do deals with Qatar. Qatar funds the Muslim Brotherhood. You don't do deals with Saudi Arabia. You don't do deals with these Muslim countries, Turkey or anyone else, because they are part of a religion that does the opposite of what Jesus says to do. They are the quintessential example of making oaths with no intention of keeping them. That's the idea. Now, I hope this happens. Donald Trump said this, if Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention on this matter. And I hope that happens this week. Another thing, another lie that's coming out, it's coming out of Britain, is the idea of a digital identification. And they're telling you, and they're telling the Brits, this is going to make you safe. We're going to be able to find illegal workers and illegal aliens. It's like, dude, you guys are the ones who opened the door for the illegal aliens. But anyway, here's Keir Starmer, the worst prime minister we have ever seen out of the UK. But listen to the lies.
For it. Here in India, I think it's 1 billion people have digital ID. It's been taken up on a voluntary basis in huge numbers, not least because it means that you can access your own money, make payments so much more easily than is available with others. So I think now we need to go out and make that case of the huge benefits that this will bring. There needs to be a national debate about it, and I think that the more people see the benefits that come with this, the more, as has happened in other countries, people say, that will make my life easier, and therefore I want to get on with it.
Want to get on with it. It's convenient. It'll make your life easier. No, it won't. We just said we're going to attach money to the digital identification like in India. Okay, the minute they attach a digital identification with money, that means the money is going to be programmable. It's a digital currency. They will know everything you do. You will lose all freedoms at that point in time. If they do this, which they're going to, there's nothing holding them back. And that's the scary part. They're not telling you is we will control your buying and selling. We'll know everything that you're doing. So they're going to say, they're going to present it to you. This is for your security. This is for your convenience. But at the same time, they're robbing you of your liberty. That's what this is. And by the way, it is setting up the beast system, by the way. That's what it's doing. But they're liars. Here's another liar. Another liar, Candace Owens, has completely flipped out and went anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. And just listening to her lies is enough to realize she's off the mark. Her yes is not yes, and her no is not no. Listen to her.
Do you think it's normal, by the way, that basically every person who speaks about Israel has to basically say a statement that's like, I don't want to get killed? Like, this is fucking normal. Like literally, because speaking about it, people are like, Candace, beef up your security. That's not like, excuse my language, but like, that is not normal. Okay. It's not normal that people have to think about their security because, and by the way, it's not normal that then the way that you get comfortable with it is you're like, well, they shot JFK in an open car, so there's not, he's a sitting president. Obviously my security doesn't really matter. If they want me, they're going to get me. That's not a normal thought process to have. We don't have that about any other country in the world except for the one that, took over ours. And that's the truth, okay? We are an occupied nation. And if it's going to take women having to speak up and say that to make permission, to give permission to men to do the same, then I'm happy to be the first person, okay? I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. 1000% blame the Zionists. Let that be my parting word.
I'm sorry, that's a crazy woman right there. I don't know where her husband is, but if my wife was acting like that, I'd get the big thing from the Gong Show. Remember that, the big hook, and I would say, "We're going to pull you off stage because you're flipping out." To say that if you talk about Israel, then Israel will try to kill you, that's crazy talk. But again, the problem is it works in our society because we have so many anti-Semites. It resonates with them. They want to believe that. But again, that's what Jesus is militating. Here's the thing, though. Let's talk about society before we go personal, okay? They are destroying the West, America, Israel, Christendom, okay? Not the remnant church. They can't ever destroy that, but they can destroy Christendom. And our lives by lies. That's what they're doing. This is what it's all been about. And here's the thing. Truth is a choice as far as a society is concerned. And whether that society goes off the cliff or not is based on if that society will live by lies or live by the truth. Living by the truth puts us all in reality, even on a personal level. You live by lies, you're going to go crazy like Candace Owens. That's what happens. You lose your mind. You suppress the truth, and Romans 1 starts happening, and your mind becomes moronic. That's what Romans 1 is talking about. But here's the thing. Why do people not want to live by the truth? You would think it would make their lives easier. The problem is they believe the truth will cost them too much because they have an agenda. They want something, and they want typically an illicit thing, and they have to lie to get that because truth will not get you there and brings too many consequences and reveals them, and they don't want that. They want a worldly advantage. Whether that's in business, whether that's cheating here or doing whatever in relationships, they want an advantage. And lying gives them the advantage. Lying, they think, protects their image. And it doesn't. Think about any politician that constantly lies. Can you see through Chuck Schumer? Can you see through AOC? If you can't, then you're part of the problem. But when they lie, they think you can't see the lie. And you can, can't you? When your teenager lies to you, they really believe that mom and dad are stupid and can't see right through them. They really believe that. But here's what lies do, and we all have to understand this from a society and in personal level. Lies are meant to bend reality to the person's desire, whether that's some type of fantasy utopia or something they want to do. And what happens is, they craft them to hide themselves or to prop up a false narrative about themselves or about reality, okay? So it's a fantasy world. And really, people that lie habitually believe they can improve their reality by lying. That's why it's so seductive. Let me give you some reasons why people lie. This is what the heart of what Jesus is coming at. Concealment is number one. They're concealing a forbidden desire, hiding who they really are, covering a false identity. The other one is control. They use lies to control, to impose their beliefs on others, steer outcomes, manipulate all kinds of things. Image management, right? They want to look competent, they want to look flawless, look likable, get attention. Self-promotion, climb the ladder, gain approval, play the martyr for sympathy. Avoidance, dodge responsibility, justify behavior, prevent conflict, stay ignorant. So those are all the reasons. And what you end up is like a program like The View. That's what you end up with. That's how you end up. And what happens is the lies of trying to bend reality and to fit your narrative is coupled with pride. And here's the thing, once it couples with pride, you really believe you are bending reality. You really believe that you can create this utopia, and anything will work for that as far as the ends justifying the means to get there. And what happens is a person doesn't understand their downward spiral. You can see this from a cultural standpoint and an individual standpoint. What happens? They have initial success at deceiving somebody. Your teenager has initial success. It worked. The lie worked. Mom and dad believe the lie. Or a politician does it. Oh, it worked. The majority are so stupid, they believe the lie. So that moves into, I know best. And then that licensed behavior starts coming out. I can do whatever I want. Everyone is stupid. I can get away with anything now because it worked. And this is what you start seeing in society. They really believe that I'm supposed to believe this. They really do. They want me to believe that a man can have a baby. That's what they wanted me to believe. This is how far the lie will take you. This is how far the narrative will take you. And they will say, and people will affirm this, oh, isn't that wonderful? Look at a guy's having a baby. And they're saying, see, the lie works. See how stupid the people are? They believe it. How about this one? Transgender model Alex Kosani hits Victoria's Secret fashion. Yeah, so now Victoria's Secret has transgender men wearing women's underwear parading down the aisle. They think everyone is stupid. Everyone supports it. Everyone believes it. How about this one? Gays for Gaza. Is that not the most oxymoron thing you've ever seen? It's ridiculous. Do they not know that in that world they would have been killed instantaneously? They would have been shot in the head just like Hamas did. It's a fantasy world, man. It doesn't work. Now, these people have done this to themselves. Why? Because they believe a lie, they believe a false narrative, and they go with it. And you can see this is how far a lie will put you out of touch with reality. It's sad. How do you come back from that? When you have manipulated your face so bad we can't even recognize you. How do you come back from that? It's because they believe a lie. That's how powerful lies are. So here's what starts happening. The reality of that God created butts up against the lie. And reality resists the lie. And what starts happening around the person is things start falling apart. Their fantasy, their narrative starts falling apart. And once it starts falling apart, they have to prop it up with other lies. They have to keep propping it up, and it becomes a house of cards. They have to keep lying, and politicians have to just keep endlessly lying about things. Endlessly. Because reality starts making everything crumble down. They can't keep it together. So here's what happens. Please follow me on this. Once the house of cards starts falling and everything around them is not working out, they get the transgender surgery and they're still not happy. Instead of saying, oh my goodness, I need to stop doing what I'm doing, it goes into blame shift. It's the fault of others. It's never me, it's other people. And so they adopt the victim mindset. The world's against me. Christians are against me. People are ruining my life. And then what happens? Anger, revenge, hostility, and they go to seek harm. That's what we saw with Charlie Kirk, the hostility. That's where it ends. A lie starts, it doesn't work, and they shift blame and get hostile. That's how it works. And you're seeing it play right out in front of you guys with Charlie Kirk and the shooter, right? The shooter was hostile. This is what you see with Hamas, right? This is what you see with Antifa. Look at the Antifa people. You notice something? You notice something? They're living a lie. They're living lies. They're all transgender. This is the Antifa marches in Portland. Why is she dressed like that? Look at them. They look like the Tusken Raiders from Star Wars. What? Look at, why do they look the same? This is Portland. God forbid you ever live in Portland. This is them down the street. Anti-ICE. I had to clip some of them out because some of the people are flat out nude. How do you ride a bike like that? They think they're really doing something. Dude, it's just like, it's a flat out lie. Laying naked in the street. I clipped out the naked part, so you don't worry. You have to wash your eyes out with Comet or anything like that. And then this weekend, you had this No Kings protest. You know what the No Kings protest? It's not against Donald Trump. It's against hatred of America, hatred of Christianity, hatred of Israel rally. That's what these things are. I want you to see something. These are the No Kings protesters. Notice something? We got to. What do you notice? It's not even Halloween yet. Look at the guy on the left. Watch the video. What is that? What's going on here? You're living in a society that lives by lies. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. By the way, here's all the groups involved in this No King, and they're all far left radical groups. Act Blue, UAW Labor for Palestine, in NYC Labor for Palestine, Palestine Labor Solidarity Contingent, George Soros, I haven't heard that name anywhere. Indivisible, dozens of Democratic political action committees. They're all involved. What? To do what? To destroy America with a lie. And they're using people that are in fantasy world. That's what they're doing in our country. Now here's the thing. Let's go down to a personal level, because this lying thing and truth thing is a big deal. You can see what it's doing in our society. It's corrupting it. So when reality hits you and you're living by a lie, you have one or two options. Either you double down on your lie or you repent. That's it. There's only two options. You either say, hey man, what I'm doing, how I'm rolling, is not working in reality. If you had the sex change and you're like, dude, I still feel bad. Yeah, that's right. You can't change. Changing yourself on the outside doesn't help you on the inside. You have an inside problem. So you either repent, like a lot of people have done, or you just double down. And you can see what doubling down does. But here's the thing about lies, and this is why it's so important. Lies will destroy you and I on a personal level. You live a lie, it starts dismantling you. You lose your identity. You think you're something, but you're not. You start losing your identity. You become spiritually weaker. You're less resilient to deal with things in life, and you're unable to face hardship. If you do not know who you are, you will not be able to bear what reality is doing. Now, give me an example of that, Brandon. Well, real simple. The millennials and Gen Z need puppies and Play-Doh and safe spaces when they have a microaggression come against them. Apparently, the two generations younger than us think it's a right to be offended. They don't like free speech. So when you tell them something that, hey, man, the way you're rolling is not good, what do? They can't handle it because the lie has hurt them so bad, they go hostile. But the opposite is true. When you believe the truth and you speak the truth, it actually strengthens you. It gives you something to stand on instead of sand, right? You become more resilient. You can take more. You can accept more. You can accept more suffering. You can accept more persecution if you believe the truth. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's why it's so important. And I like what Alexander Solzhenitsyn said. And remember, he was in the gulag, in the Russian gulag. And he said this in Live Not by Lies. Our way must be never knowingly support lies. The simplest and most accessible key to our liberation. A personal non-participating in lies. You see what he's saying? Don't participate in people's lies. Don't go into the fantasy world. Some guy tells you they're a girl. Don't support that. Do not go for that. He goes, that's what happened to the Russian society when they were throwing everybody into the gulag, is that everybody believed the lie. Everybody went with it. They wouldn't push back against it. He goes, even if all is covered by lies, even if all is under rule, let us resist the smallest way. Let their rule hold not through me. If you, on your personal level, can say, I am not going to live by lies. I'm not going to indulge in anybody's fantasy. I'm going to live by the truth. That starts everything. That at least starts it in your family. That at least starts it at home. And then it permeates past that. If we would just have everybody, I am not going to live by lies. It would start what we want to see in as far as a change in our society. But the problem is people want to live by lies because it gives them an advantage. Let's continue on. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. The problem is they took a civil law, the rabbis did, and made it a personal law. Exodus 21 talked about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but they misinterpreted it. This is where the punishment must fit the crime. That's what God was saying in the Mosaic law. But the rabbis had taken this and made it a personal vendetta thing. That if someone pokes your eye out, you can go poke their eye out. It was just ridiculous. That's not what the law meant. So he interprets it properly and he says, but I tell you not to resist an evil person. Whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also. Now, this has been misinterpreted and has actually created entire passive denominations. Okay? They don't, because one of the problems is they don't understand the Jewish idiom in this passage that he's using. Being slapped on the right-hand cheek means a backhanded slap with the right hand, because you would never use your left, you use your right. And you would slap on the back with the back of your hand on the right cheek. But it's not a literal slap. It is a Jewish idiom that means a verbal insult. That's all it means. It doesn't mean physical contact. And so, because of that, entire denominations have been created because of that not knowing the Jewish background. So you have the pacifist Christians that are Mennonites, typically, Amish, those types, or any other denomination that takes that on. They have not understood what this passage means. And you got churches in town that are passive. Did you know that? You have big churches in town that have Mennonite theology, that refuse to fight in wars, that refuse to even defend their own family because they take this as a pacifist interpretation. It's so wrong. So what Jesus is saying is, look, the Pharisees have misinterpreted retaliation. They're basically green lighting retaliation, even on verbal insults. Now, again, in our world, especially in our media crazed world, if you don't retaliate, you get put at a disadvantage in the marketplace of media. And so it's to people's advantage to retaliate in the media, okay, as an example. So Jesus is saying you're misinterpreting that passage. That passage is for civil suits. It has nothing to do with personal suits. I am telling you, if someone calls you a name or verbally slanders you, I do not want you retaliating in kind. Can you defend yourself? Absolutely. But don't retaliate. Jesus defended himself. A classic case in point, he defended himself with Pontius Pilate. He explained to Pilate who he was and what he was there to do. He defended himself. Paul will constantly defend himself, but neither of them retaliated in kind. They were slandered, they were called names, but they defended, but they wouldn't retaliate. And that's what Jesus is trying to say. And it has to do with verbal insults. It has nothing to do with someone attacks you physically. Dude, if someone attacks you physically, pull out your sword. Because that's what he told the disciples. I'm going to leave you. I need you to sell all you have and buy a sword. Why? Why do you need a sword? To defend yourself. You are not to sit there and take someone coming and attacking you and thinking that you're turning the other cheek. That's not what he's talking about at all. The worst abuser of this was John Piper, who even went so far as to say he would not defend his own wife and family if an intruder came into his home. That is sick. That is heretical. Right there should have told you everything about John Piper when he said that kind of nonsense. You don't know the words of Jesus, John Piper. Apparently you don't know the Jewish background. How dare you say people not defend themselves? That's crazy talk. I guess we shouldn't even had a revolution against Britain, John Piper. And there's a lot of Christians that even think that, because they misunderstand this passage. Beloved, do not avenge yourself, but rather give place to wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. So what does someone do when they call you all kinds of names? They lie about you, they slander you. Don't retaliate. Defend yourself, but don't retaliate in kind. Because why? You are to hand over the vengeance to God and let God deal with it. He will deal with it, and you have to trust him for that. But here's the thing. When they are lying about you, when they are slandering you and saying all kinds of bad stuff about you, the hard part will be to wait for God to vindicate you. You will temporarily lose an advantage because they will create doubt in other people's minds about you. That's the hard part that people can't deal with, is people creating doubt about them. Well, Brandon, he hates this, he hates that, whatever. They'll say anything about you. Right? They'll say anything about you. And you have to sit there and take it. You can defend yourself, but you can't retaliate. Now, defending yourself is a lot different. You can explain yourself, and I do that. But the problem is, as you know, a lie travels faster than the truth, doesn't it? Before the truth puts on its shoes, the lies already went around the world. That's the way it is. And God is saying, will you wait on me to vindicate you? That's the hard part. But you know what? Over time, he will vindicate you. The truth does come out. Here's the thing. Lies can't stop the truth from coming out. And eventually you are vindicated. You will. But you have to wait. And that's the hardest part, is to wait. And what he is saying is, as you wait for me to vindicate you, please don't take matters into your own hands. Please don't retaliate. Defend yourself, but don't retaliate. He continues on. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. So now he's getting into legal proceedings. Now here's the interesting thing from Exodus. The cloak that he's referring to is the outer cloak, which is your coat, which doubled for your bedding at night. A lot of times they slept out in the wilderness or whatever. And so your outer cloak, your coat, would actually become your bedding. So in Exodus, there was a law against taking someone's bedding or cloak. If you ever take your neighbor's garment as a pledge, you shall return it to him before sun goes down. For that is his only covering. It is his garment for his skin. What will he sleep in? And it will be that when he cries to me, I will hear, for I am gracious. So even in Exodus, the law was, if you even gave your outer cloak as a pledge, you had to return it back to them by the end of the day. So they had bedding to sleep in, and that was their blanket, is your outer coat. That's how it worked, okay? So Jesus is coming back and saying, look, if anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your outside coat too. Give him everything. Now, this is like hyperbole. You understand that? Because if I gave him my tunic and my outer cloak, I'm naked at that point in time. And everyone would have picked up on this. But what is he saying? He's using hyperbole. He's using the very garment that you would have for the bedding at night. Give them that as well if they want it. And you're like, what are you talking about here? It's the legal context of what was happening in the day. He is saying if someone sues you, exceed the legal obligation to promote the welfare of those on whom you're in conflict with. What? What? Be willing to be wronged and defrauded. Don't just do the minimum required. Wow. Okay, you see how it puts you at a disadvantage in this world. Exceed what is required legally when someone is suing you. Give them more than what they wanted. Really? I don't know too many people that live like that. Because you know why? I'm already at a disadvantage if someone's suing me. I'm already spending money on an attorney. I'm already paying for this. So they have the same issues that you and I are having. And you're telling me, give them more? Yeah, if they want the outer cloak, give them the outer cloak too. Oh, okay. I don't know if I can do that one. But that's what Messiah is pressing on. You see what he's trying to get at? If you follow the law, it will put you at a disadvantage in this world. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him too. Well, we use this kind of, go the second mile. We talk about that in sports and stuff like that. But in the context, he's talking about legally. And what would happen in the first century? Legally, Rome could take anybody, any Jewish person, and compel them to carry their stuff for 1 Roman mile. And that's, you could be walking, doing your own thing, going to the market or whatever, and the Roman could say, you pick up my stuff and carry it 1 mile. Could you imagine doing that? And so Messiah is saying, if a Roman soldier does that, then go the 2nd mile as well. Give him more back. So the principle is exceed the legal obligations to promote the welfare of those whom you're in conflict with. And be willing to be inconvenienced by it and your time being given to it. What? That is so radical. That is so off the chart. If that's the intent of the Mosaic law, dude, I am not there. I would never want to carry a Roman soldier who is my enemy, his stuff an extra mile. I'm going to do what the law requires, and that's it. Now, let me get to a more principled thing. A lot of people work their job in the same way. They only do what is required of them in their job description. They do not exceed the job description. If the job description doesn't tell them to do that, they won't do it, which is exactly the opposite of what Christ wants them to do. Because this is how you would apply this principle, because none of us are carrying Roman stuff right now. You are to be like Joseph in your job. When Joseph got put in prison or he worked for Potiphar's house, what did he do? He blessed them. How did he bless them? By doing his job description? No, he exceeded his job description. He went beyond to make the life of that person, the boss, better, easier. I am here to help you, boss. I am a problem solver. How can I solve this problem? I see a problem over here. I'm going to solve that problem. He didn't have the mentality, I'm only going to do what I'm told to do. That's how I'm going to function. Have you ever went to these employment places? Whatever. It could be any business. And you ask them, hey, man, I don't know what's going on here, and can you help me with this? That's not my job. You're going to have to talk to so-and-so over here. Everybody that works for the state, everyone works for the federal government is like that. It's not my job. You got to talk to Joe Blow over here. And you go talk to Joe Blow, and he goes, it's not my job. It's Sally Two Trees over here. You got to talk to Sally Two Trees. And you go over there. That's how the county is. That's how the county is. Nobody owns anything. No one wants to help. It's not my job. You got to talk to so-and-so. And you just pinball your way around the county to find someone that can even help you. And it's like, what are we paying all of you creeps for? What do we pay? Oh, I'm just doing my job description. That is so unchristian. That is not how America is. America went the 2nd mile. People bent over backwards to problem solve, to help everyone. They didn't cop an attitude. It's not my job description. What is wrong with people? You know what? It is pagan. That's why. And that's why when you get them out of that environment, they're like they have blinders on. They cannot see anything beyond what their job description tells them to do. This is the derivative of this principle. Go the second mile for your employer. Well, it doesn't benefit me. So what? You're a Christian. Your boss is Jesus, not that guy. What's wrong with you? You know the thing about employment? All the complaints I hear from business owners, the worst workers are Christians. That's all I hear constantly. And we help people get jobs. And we say, hey, we got a guy that might be good. He gets there, and the guy goes, I had to fire that guy. That dude's totally lazy, man. What? What? That should never happen with a Christian, because Christians should be going the second mile. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Look at Simon of Cyrene. He's walking in Jerusalem. He has no idea what's going on. No idea. And he comes into Jerusalem, and they're crucifying, getting ready to crucify the Lord. And what do the Romans do? Jesus falls with his cross. Simon of Cyrene is right there. Hey, you, come pick up that cross. And Simon helps the Lord to Calvary with the cross. Now, think about that. He is doing what is required. He could have protested. He could have done all this stuff. But he actually is picked to carry the cross for the Lord and to help him there. Now, every one of us would have said, sign me up. I'll help the Lord. I'll be right there for him. But he didn't know anybody. He didn't know anything. And this is the thing that you and I don't know. You don't know that when you go the second mile, what it will do to people. How would it affect other people? They will see that. It will resonate with them. It'll be a testimony. Like, why is that guy such a good worker? Oh, that guy is a Christian. That's what starts happening. And you get a blessing from it, and you don't realize it. That's the problem. But people don't look at it that way. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. What? Now, there's caveats on this. This doesn't mean this everybody on the side of the road you give money to. But if a brother or sister, a family member, and you have looked at the criteria, and they're in need, and truly are in need, and they have a need, you are to give to them if they want to borrow. You are not to say no. Again, the qualification is, does it match up with they have a true need, or are they just lazy, or they can't, they don't want to work. You have to qualify that. But look what he said. And if you lend to those from whom you have hope to receive back, what credit is that to you? So if you give money away, someone borrows money from you, and they're truly in debt, okay? They lost their job and fallen on hard times. He is saying your attitude is, do not expect them to pay you back. Just go with it. Give to them who borrows, and don't expect them. He goes, what credit is it if you expect them to give them back? For even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much back. But love your enemies, do good and lend, hoping for nothing in return, and your reward will be great. And you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the unthankful and evil. Using God as an example, that God is kind to the unthankful and the evil. They may not be thankful to you, but he's saying, I want you to be the son of the Most High, which is a reward aspect. You want to be like me? You want to be a son of my Father? Give to those and don't expect anything in return. Don't harbor resentment. Oh, that guy owes me $50, man. He hasn't paid me back in like 5 years. And so now with compound interest, that's way up there now that he owes me. No. You don't roll like that. What's wrong with you? Look what he said about even inviting people to dinner. Then he also said to him who invited him, when you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just. You see what he said there? That's totally radical. The way the world works is I scratch your back, you scratch mine. I take you to dinner, then you take me. And we go back and forth. But what he says I want you to do is different than what the world does. I want you to take the people to dinner that can't ever pay you back. They could never dream of having a steak dinner and pay you back. Give them steak and lobster. Don't take them to McDonald's. Take them to the highest quality of food, knowing they can't pay you back. That's how radical I want you to treat them. Take the maimed, the lame, not the rich people that can pay you back. I don't want that. That's what the world does. You see how radical this is? Well, Brandon, that puts me at a disadvantage because you know the way the business world is. We have to network, and I have to do all these things to stay in business. Yeah, that's how the world operates. Got it. Got it. That's why you have to get the Christmas gifts for your guys that buy your product. I get it. But why don't you give a Christmas gift to someone who can't pay you back that doesn't give you business at all? Oh, I don't know about that because that would kind of be wasting money and that wouldn't help my business. Yeah, that's right. But where's your reward? The truest act of love is to give those who can't pay you back. That's what he's trying to say. If you truly want to be genuine in this, the person you help can't pay you back. And again, the caveat is legitimate need. Not people on dope, not people on drugs or whatever. We're not talking about that. Or lazy, don't want to work. Legitimately, right? But here's the principle. What Jesus is saying is you have to be okay with people imposing on you. You have to be okay with not trying to protect your money, not trying to protect your savings because your brother or sister or somebody else is in need. So the issue is, am I guarding what is mine? Or do I realize that what I have is I'm only stewarding? And then he puts it on my heart to help these people. That's what he says. Continues on, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Where did he get this from? Psalm 139. Do I not hate them, O Lord, who hate you? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? That's where they got it from. They misinterpreted Psalm 139. What was David saying? He wasn't saying that he hated them personally. He was saying he hated what they did. And what did they do? They rose up against the Lord. That's what he said. Jude kind of parses this out a little bit better for us. And on some have compassion, making this a distinction. Make the distinction. But others say with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment defiled by the flesh. What is Jude saying? Well, Jude is interpreting Psalm 139 of how to hate. You must hate well. It is true, God hates. But what does he hate? He hates the sin. He loves the person. And what he is saying, that the Pharisees had misinterpreted Psalm 139, and they hated Gentiles. They hated their enemies. Jonah hated the Assyrians. No doubt about that. He hated them. But what God was saying, I love them, I hate their sin. And so Jude even parses that out, saying hating even the garment defiled by the flesh. He is separating what you should hate. The acts, not the person. And so when you see that, Jesus was trying to get at them, you guys are hating people. But I say, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Now here's the thing. You know what that stops in a society? A cycle of revenge. If you look at why certain societies don't get anywhere, like if you look in Africa, you look in India, you look in China, you look in all these different parts of the world, even in Europe, and what you start seeing is they have a revenge cycle, right? Even in Italy, the mafia have a revenge cycle. You put a hit out on somebody, eventually they put a hit out on you. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth. We even have the colloquial, the Hatfields and the McCoys. Have you ever heard of that? In America, where they had this rivalry going on between the Hatfields and the McCoys, and it just never ended. What he is saying is absolutely just radical. And this stops the cycle of violence because it prevents us from taking revenge. It prevents the society from spiraling down. That's what made America America, is this passage right here. Loving your enemies, yeah, it stopped the Hatfield and the McCoys. Now, I want you to think about that. What are we doing now? We are watching our society get away from the scripture, get away from that, and they're getting into what? A cycle of violence. That's what we're seeing. It's definitely coming from the left. But I can guarantee you this. If the left keeps the violence up, the Bubba factor is going to come out. Just saying. I'm not an advocate of the Bubba factor, but Bubba is finally going to get tired of these wackadoos in Portland, Antifa, anti-ICE, and you know what Bubba's going to do. And Bubba is loaded with guns and ammo. Okay? I'm just telling you. I'm not an advocate of it. I'm just telling you. If it keeps happening, and you have to understand, this is exactly why George Soros is funding Antifa. It is why he is funding the radical LGBT. It's why he is funding the transgender movement. It's why he's funding the open borders. He wants to provoke Bubba. Now, here's the thing. I have no control over Bubba, neither do you. Because Bubba may not follow that. Bubba is going to say, love my enemies. What are you talking about? They're coming after me and my family. And I'm not going to let Antifa march through my streets and tear up Jack. I only control, if I'm a Christian and I only obey that, I can't control Bubba. I am telling you, that's where this is going. And the cycle of violence will start. And the minute it starts in America, it's over. You've got a civil war right on your hands. This is how impactful that verse is. It prevents a civil war. It prevents even a civil war in your own family if you love your enemies. That is so radical to say something like that. But what does it do? It puts you at a disadvantage. If I obey that, love my enemies, I got to love the purple-haired Antifa girl in Portland. I may hate what she does. But I still have to love her, which means I'm not going to retaliate. I'm not going to treat her as she would treat me. Dude, that is so radical. That is so radical, but that prevents the cycle of violence from stopping. Now, again, can we defend ourselves? Of course we can defend ourselves. Absolutely. But where are we going from here? So I got to wrap things up because he's got more to say. And as you see, everything he says gets off the chart radical in the behavior. If I don't make the move over to creating the internal, then I'm going to end up just like the world. I'm going to practice just what the world does. I may put on an outer garment and a Sunday smile and pretend and fake it, but internally it will not be there. And I'm telling you, the test right now to love your enemies is at an all-time high. I struggle with this, and I'm sure you do too. I do not like to see my society go down the tubes. I do not like to raise kids in a defiled environment as we're in. My kids have seen things that I never saw at their age. And I'm sure you say the same thing. We are seeing the grossest sins ever in U.S. history. Okay? So I acknowledge that. But I got to temper that. And how to temper that is a balancing act, man. Because my enemy is also my mission field. Try that one on for size. My enemy is my mission field? Yeah, Brandon. Whoa. That's a challenge. That is a challenge. So I'm to hate the sin and love the person. Yeah? Okay. But how that filters out, man, is in the day-to-day interactions. And what you say and what you do will indicate where you're at on that if you're truly balancing that out. Sometimes I'm on the other side. Sometimes I'm on this side. And it's a balancing act. It's not easy. But we're in that kind of environment, guys. Will you take up the challenge to love your enemy but hate the sin? That's the challenge before you. Let's pray. Father, thank you, Lord, for what we can do and learn from this sermon, which really is so radical. The way to live like that, that's what you're requiring of us. Wow. We're definitely going to lose in this world, but we gain with you. We get the reward for it. Help us to have the strength to do that. Help us to balance that. I don't balance it very good. I need help. We all need help for that because this is a challenge. We're getting pushed to the wall. We're getting backed into a corner, Father. And we just pray that these passages would internalize in us and that we would be able to live that out. Big challenge, Father. Help us. And Father, if there's anyone here that has come to faith in Messiah, they would do so today, realizing he died on a cross for their sins. He died for his enemies. He loved his enemies as we were his enemies. Was buried and rose on the third day to give his enemies the free gift of salvation. Bless us now as we go. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.